set the scene for you a little bit. You are with a party of 4. You're whatever class and race you want to be. You have a mage tabaxi, you have a little goblin fellow with you who's a rogue, and a couple of other people. Okay? And you guys are walking down a fairly big town. And you're walking down a particular street where there's a lot of merchants. And you see this one merchant. It's a tiny little halfling. And they give you a little gesture of, come here, come see my wares. And you walk up to them, and they give you this shtick, okay? My name is Sir Gerard, and I am here to introduce to you my wonderful treasures. After he says my wonderful treasures, he gestures you over to a chest. Not just any ordinary chest. This chest looks a little bit different. You get asked to roll an investigation check, and you roll low. Nothing about the chest seems at all odd other than it doesn't look like an ordinary chest, okay? Everyone else rolls, they don't roll so great. Someone even gets a nat 1 in that roll. The highest roll there, you just know it's a chest. Looks a little bit odd, but it looks like it has some pretty decent loot in there. You say, okay, halfling merchant, let me buy that chest off of you. Out of nowhere, though, the halfling looks at you straight in your eyes and goes, silly mortal, this wasn't a chest at all. Not any ordinary chest. It is a very special chest indeed. You guys seem even more interested. So do a couple more rolls. So I do an investigation check, maybe an insight check here and there, maybe a persuasion check to see if he'll even tell you what it actually is. No one rolls that high. So you put all your coins together. He tells you it's 3 gold or a platinum, 10 gold or a platinum. So you guys put your gold together, give it to him, and call it a day. The barbarian of the group grabs the chest, huffs it over his shoulders, and you guys call it a day. That night at camp, you guys kind of hear a little bit of rattling happening from the chest. Seems a little bit off. And as your little mage tabaxi, decides to walk up to it, he goes, maybe there is some pretty cool magical items that I can look into, because he is multi-classing into artificer. And your brain, whichever class or whatever you decide to be, also thinks something similar of what if there's a bow because I'm an archer, or a really cool weapon because you're a swordsman, or maybe you're an artificer as well and you agree with the tabaxi who's multi-classing and go, yes, I really want to check this out. So you guys open the chest and you roll initiative. You look over and you see your DM looking at you and going, that's no ordinary chest. That's a mimic. You need to roll an initiative check. Now, I've been a really big fan of Dungeons & Dragons for, I want to say, about 4 or 5 years now at this point. My husband was actually the one that really got me into it. I knew what it was prior, but I just thought it was like LARPing, like live action roleplay, which to a degree, I know a lot of people actually do it as LARPing, but I thought that was the extent of what it was, and it wasn't anything big. I later found out it's a completely different concept and it's the most amazing thing in the entire world, and how dare I just assume that it was just LARPing basic. I've also had a lot of friends tell me that's not LARPing, bitch. It's something completely different. LARPing can be involved, but Dungeons & Dragons is tabletop RPG. My dumbass was like Skyrim? No, tabletop, motherfucker. Tabletop. Anyways, 26 books and about 20 sets of dice later, here the fuck I am. So I'm going to tell you the wonderful story of how I got into Dungeons & Dragons. So when I was younger, about, I want to say like 14, 15 years old, which younger, a complete decade at this point is where I am now. It's a decade later. So I'm going to say I was pretty much younger. Not my concept of a toddler yet, but some of you guys who are older than me might be like, that's a baby. What do you mean younger? And some of you people that are younger than me are like, that's my age. What the fuck do you mean that's a baby? For me, just basic teenager. I'm not in my 30s or 40s yet, so for me, that's just a basic teenager right now until I get older, and then I'm like, hey, That might as well be a toddler. Side note, I gotta take these bottom lashes off. They are bugging my eyeballs. There we go. Ugh. Is there one over here still? There is. Okay. Little bottom lashes. Gotta love them. But I'm making it difficult to see sometimes, and now it's stuck to me. God damn it. But yeah, the start is a little bit of a role play I wanted to put in there to get you kind of intrigued with what I was about to talk about. And now that you're here and you rolled your initiative check and hopefully succeeded, we're going to talk about my lore as being not only a DM but an actual player and how I got here. Hello, if you don't know, I'm in my 20s. I'm in my mid 20s. I'm not gonna tell you exactly how old I am because you don't ask a woman how old she. Well, you don't ask a person how old they are. I feel like it's disrespectful to even ask a man how old he is, but this or that, whatever the fuck. When I was about 14 years old, I kind of heard through the grapevine from a couple of friends that I knew that they were playing Dungeons and Dragons, and I didn't really know what it was. Like, I understood the basic concept of thinking that, like I said, it was like LARPing, but I later learned completely different concept. They can have tabletop RPGs can have LARPing in it and vice versa, but you can have one without the other. It's not like when you're sitting down to go poop and there's a little bit of pee that comes out, but you can pee and not poop. It's you can have one without the other, or you can have both together. Sometimes you can eat crackers by themselves, or you can eat them with soup, or you can eat them with salami. Like, it can go any way. For me, I thought it all was the same umbrella, which in a sense, yes, it is, but you don't need to have them all together. And I was about 16 years old when I actually kind of got to watch someone play D&D before. I was hanging out with some friends or whatever, and they're like, hey, let's do a D&D session. I was like, I'm not really into that stuff. So they kind of did it without me, and I just watched them, and I was like, God dang, this is the coolest shit ever. But I was also, then again, I didn't really have any, like, people. I am from a very conservative family, so Dungeons and Dragons was not the first concern that they had. It was more of you do sports, or you pass with honors. The little extra stuff within that wasn't really something that they were too concerned about. Like, if they watched this video and saw my makeup and stuff, the way that I look like a drag queen right now, they'd be rolling. Half of them would be rolling in their grave. The other half of them would just be like, that's how not really open-minded they are to different ideas. But skipping that aside, I watched my first D&D campaign happen. I wasn't really a part of it, but I watched it. And then when I turned 18, I met my wonderful husband. At the time, we weren't even really boyfriend and girlfriend yet, but I met him on this wonderful app called Tinder. And Tinder's a great app. I will give it credit because I did meet my husband on it. Doesn't always happen. You don't always find the love of your life, and there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes you will hear about serial killers, so, be the fuck careful. But yeah, he's the one that got me more introduced into the idea, and I kind of was like, heck yeah, this is, like, amazing. I watched him play it with a couple of friends, and then he had me and him join a campaign with his friends, and I loved it. I was so excited to play it every fucking Saturday. And then unfortunately COVID happened in 2020, and then I had my son, and then while I was pregnant with our daughter, my husband and I thought maybe we should just play it by ourselves, see what happens, and go from there. So that's kind of exactly what we did, where it was just him and I just learning to play DM, learning to play characters. Him and I are kind of like the group of people where it's like we have different characters all the time, so we might as well just try them out, and what works we'll use in actual campaigns, and what doesn't work we won't use. So him and I like to experiment on that regard. But other than the group in college that I did with his friends, I did have my own little group of D&D people, but we did it through Discord, and everyone had different time zones and was in college. So it was really hard to kind of like do that with everyone else. So we kind of just didn't really. After like 2 months, we just stopped. Which, it hurt me a little bit. But at the end of the day, people have their own lives. Like, you can't really be like, hey, let's try this again. And after like a year ago, when I had about a year and a half worth of D&D knowledge and owned like 26 books at that point, I was like, hey, like, why don't I take the lead? You let me, because we were still in a group chat. It's just, it wasn't based off that anymore. And a lot of us have kind of moved on from that point. Like, I had 2 kids. A lot of them have graduated college and high school and whatever at that point. So we weren't really talking to each other or having like communication skills were kind of like downhill after COVID. So we kind of just said, not fuck you, but like, have a good life. I'm gonna go do my life. You have fun with your life. Good one. Have a good one. So that's kind of what we did. And I tried to revive it, and everyone was like, sorry, we have so much stuff going on, and you have kids, and sorry. And I was like, I understand that. So my husband and I kind of just kept doing like the D&D stuff by ourselves. Um, Open to the idea if someone wants to do a D&D campaign. Not willing to do it on Discord again. It has to be in person. I like the idea of holding dice. It's beautiful. Holding dice and having like a character sheet with you. Oh, as much as I love D&D Beyond, which is where I have most of my stuff on, I even have the yearly subscription, which is $26 a year, which isn't bad. I get unlimited characters and a whole bunch of feats, and I get like month to month different like perks. So definitely something to look into if you have the money and time. Not sponsored. God, if you sponsor me though. I would love it if you sponsored me D&D Beyond. I have Baldur's Gate. I have D&D Beyond. I have the subscription. I have like 30 characters on there, and I own 26 books on that fucking app alone. Talk to me. Send me an email. We can work something out. I promise. Not sponsored. God, I wish. I really do. Can you see in the desperation how fucking real I am? But yeah, I really got into it, especially after COVID and after having my daughter, because as much as I love my kids and I love real life and stuff, it's wonderful just to be able to like, I don't want to play video games. I just want to escape the world. And it's a lot easier to flirt with like someone you know, like my husband when him and I are DMing. It's a lot easier to flirt with each other than it is to flirt with a random stranger. Cause I have Bard, and for like the jobs and stuff that I have, I'm in customer service and I do this. So I feel like Bard energy makes sense for me, and I flirt with everything that moves in that game. And it's a lot easier to flirt when it's like someone you know DMing and not a random stranger. So it made me feel a lot more comfortable. Made my husband feel a lot more comfortable because him and I were just talking. You know, we do this switch every week. So I DM one week, he DMs the next week, I DM the week after that. And it's been working really well. We're doing the Strix campaign for both. My character and his character, we're just doing kind of different colleges and the different quests for said colleges right now, and we're fleshing those out so that way we can have our own world together, so that'll be fun. But yeah, I've always liked fantasy, and I don't know why I never got into D&D sooner, but you know, now that I'm in it now that you know how I got into it, yeah, it's something that I knew I would have probably liked and then didn't know why I didn't go into it sooner. And then I remember in the back of my head, my family probably wouldn't have liked that idea. And I hate that. That was my first thought or instinct of, it doesn't matter what I like, it matters what they care about. But yeah. Anyways, now that you've learned my lore, let's get back to the campaign. You successfully defeated the Mimic. But little do you know if you look slightly to your left, and one of you did roll good on your insight and perception check. You see that tiny little halfling over in the corner. I told you it was my special chest. Successfully defeated the Mimic, and now you are on to your next adventure. End of campaign.